number one rule in basic knife skills is to actually steady your cutting board, because everything is about safety. All I've done is dampened a paper towel, lay that beneath it, and it's great because then this is also what you use to clean up any surfaces later. And suddenly you have a nice anchored board. It's not going anywhere. You can cut with safety. So you want to also make sure that you're using a sharp knife. It seems a little counterintuitive, but the sharper the knife, the safer you are. The best way to hold a knife is to grip the steel. And the way that I always say to get into that position is to take your middle finger and fit it right into that bolster, that groove where the handle meets the bottom of the blade. As soon as that is resting there and grabbing it, it allows your other fingers to wrap around the handle, and then your last two fingers have to pinch the bottom of the blade. There's nowhere else for them to go. And that's how you properly hold a knife. I'm gonna show on an onion is what to do with your other hand for safety. You don't wanna lose any tips of fingers or tips of nails. You want a bear claw. It's always a bear claw. You wanna always create a cage so that you always have the flats of your knuckles against the blade. There is nowhere for your fingers to get into the blade's run. With this onion, for instance, we're going to cut the growth side off, also to create a nice stable place so that it can roll onto a flat surface so you don't have something rolling around anymore. Then you want to cage your hands over the knife to cut it in half. Your fingers are nowhere near the blade, and you power through that. Then you can peel it. So I've got my bear claw going. My thumb is very hidden and safe from the knife behind the onion. My other fingers are flat against the knife surface, but they're also helping me guide how thin or thick I want to slice by as far back as I pull them. So for a thicker slice, you pull them there. For a thinner slice, you pull them just a little bit, and they help you guide. What you can also see at this point is it's getting a little unstable. It kind of wants to flip, so you allow it. Let it do its flip, let it go to a surface that feels its most stable, because that's where you're gonna be safest. So now we've turned it on to this side, and then you just keep going. So you're letting your fingers guide thickness, and you've got a sliced onion. So now we're doing the classic chop. So again, I'm holding my knife. It's nice and secure in my grip. What you do is you can keep the root intact, again, in this case, to hold it together, all the layers. And we're just gonna start running through with the tip of the knife. If you did want a larger dice, just move your fingers further along and put bigger gaps between each dice. When it gets to this point, I always do like to kind of just move off to the side a little bit so that nothing's unstable over here. Once you have your fringe marks put in, then you can turn your onion, get back into your claw position, thumb behind, very safely out of the way, fingers on top, and then you just run your knife through. And again, you'll get to a point where it doesn't want to be there anymore. It feels unstable. Go with it, flip it, and you can finish off the chop. And then you can just toss your root. The technique best for an herb like basil, especially if you're finishing a dish as a garnish with some beautiful fresh basil, is what is called chiffonade, which is just a fancy word for very nice thin ribbons. Stack your leaves, lay them flat within each other, and then you roll them tightly as you would a cigar, and you hold that in place. Again, with your claw situation, that's holding the leaves together. Then you pick up your knife, and you can just start rolling through. You want to keep your fingers out of line, out of the way of the knife, and you just pull them back as you run your knife through this tight roll until you hit the stem. You can get rid of that. And then you have these beautiful little ribbons of basil. The last technique to use for other herbs such as parsley or cilantro, something when you need to finely chop an herb, is called the rock chop method. So again, you have your bunch, you want to start by rolling them together as tightly as you possibly can. We're going to do the initial rolling of the knife through them, keeping your fingers well out of the way, kind of helping them just to push forward. And that's just to get a good initial chop. If you want to keep it like that, you could. That's kind of a nice roughly chopped herb. But to get a finer chop, you can use your knife, bring it together, start at the base of what you want to do, kind of on an angle. Your other hand is now well out of the way of the blade because it's going to be resting on top, and you just rock your way through the herbs, bring it together again. And when you've decided that it is sufficient, when it is done, you have some very nicely, finely chopped parsley. So a couple things to keep in mind for basic knife skills. A is practice. Just get going. Hold your knife the way that is secure and steady. Steady your board. Just have fun. Again, listen to your gut. If it feels unstable, alter, adjust it, and trust yourself.